Today, by request, I'll be breaking down what I like to call the Damascus 7.62. Just to be clear, I'm not a certified gunsmith. I'm not telling you to modify any of your gun parts. I'm simply sharing what I've done, what worked, and what did not. Why did I decide to go with a 7.62 AR? Well, about 7 years ago, I purchased 2,000 rounds of it for about $4 a box, with the intentions of buying an AK-47. However, I never did buy that AK-47. What I did have was about half the parts to complete an AR-15. Then I thought, could I chamber it in 7.62? So about 11 months ago, I started to search the web for successful AR-47 builds. There were a fair number of videos highlighting the issues regarding how inconsistent the gun was, light primer strikes, and failure to feed. I was trying to keep it a budget build and did not want to get stuck with a pile of crap. But as I did more research, I realized that these are more common today than they were when I saw the MK47 Mutant in a recoil magazine back in 2014. So I decided to move forward with this project. But before we get started, let me take a second to thank all my sponsors. Alright, let's break this little guy down. The first thing, the war paint. It was Cerakoted by Greg Linville, owner of Coat & Dagger Customs, which is based in the 223 range in Lebanon, Ohio. We have collaborated on a few projects before, and he again nailed it with this one. The laser engraving was done by Keith Gibson, owner of Jagged Edge Tactical out of Georgetown, Kentucky. He also did the laser work on the Mandalorian build. He's been part of some outstanding projects. Be sure to check him out when you get a chance. The magazines are manufactured by C Products. I did as much research as I could on these, and the overwhelming consensus was that these were the best regarding minimizing feeding issues. So far, they have been flawless. On the back end, we have an SB Tactical PDW pistol brace. The grip is an AR-DI pistol grip from Trinity Force. This is a billet lower by 17 Design and Manufacturing. The upper is a Davidson Defense Panhead. I chose this one because it has a slick side, no forward assist, and the flat sides were a perfect backdrop for the Damascus or topography lines. The charging handle is a Radian Raptor. I initially went with one from Trybe Defense. I thought it was a great deal, and how much abuse could a charging handle get? Well, it didn't last 200 rounds. I went cheap and paid the price. I went with a 7.5-inch Parkerized barrel with a 1-to-10 twist from Bear Creek Arsenal. Gas tube is from Trybe Defense, and that seems to be holding up just fine. Non-adjustable low-profile gas block from Lantac. The handguard is the 10-inch Hawk from STNGR USA. The shape worked well with the overall theme I was going for. I did have to modify it a bit, as it originally had anti-rotation tabs that would not fit around the upper. I simply grinded them down. I love Lantac's BMD and strike suppressor, but they would not fit within the handguard. So I went with a Noveske KX5 flash hider, which fits perfectly. It does a great job sending the noise down range, but nothing to do to reduce muzzle rise. When you get on this trigger, you can't give it an inch because it will take a mile. So I decided to try the M472 Severe Duty Compensator from Precision Armament that I run on my RFB. It sounded like a good idea at the time. I thought my hand is going to be close to the compensator, but it should be fine. Well, it certainly helped with keeping the rifle flat, but you'll go through a lot of gloves. The bolt catch release is the EBR-V3 by Phase 5 Weapons. I incorporated Strike Industries AMBI magazine release, which I also had to modify to work with this lower. The trigger is a Hiperfire Power Drop-In, or PDI. I think it's a close second to their 24C trigger, which is an absolute favorite of mine. I had some issues with the reset with the initial 200 rounds, but I will touch on more of that later in this video. The foregrip is the Link by Strike Industries. The takedown pins are from a DPMS lower. The AMBI Safety and B2 extended mag release are from Armaspec. I did have to modify the mag release to work with this lower. Now I was trying to keep this as a budget build, did not necessarily want to buy an Optic. I wanted to keep it simple, point and shoot, 100-yard gun. I've had this M1776 from Clear Image Solutions for quite a while now, and I just haven't really utilized it like I wanted to. I want to see if I can incorporate it with the front post ring. However, I was not able to, as this was intended for a front sight and not a rear. So it's a great non-powered optic and get you on target really fast, great for PCC. But unfortunately for this build, didn't end up using it. What I ended up using is a SLX microprism by Primary Arms. It has the ACSS Cyclops Gen 2 reticle. It's very light, 29,000 hours of battery life, has a motion sensor which automatically turns on. They call it Auto Live. It also comes with a mini ACOG mounting system that gives you 8 different height configurations. It is a very solid mount, it looks good, and will save you a lot of money, meaning you won't have to buy another mount or riser to change the height of your optic. This thing bangs and the price is right. Alright, now this is where it gets interesting. This is the Silent Recoil Spring, or SRS by Armaspec. I have these in 2 of my other rifles and I absolutely love them. This is the SRS 308, which sports the 5.7 ounce weighted buffer. As for the bolt carrier group, I searched specifically for nickel boron BCG. I came across one that was a little bit different. This is the enhanced bolt carrier from Black Rifle Arms. It has a built-in polymer buffer. This interests me because I love seeing innovation, I love seeing improvements on the wheel. I like seeing those who try to squeeze out every ounce of performance to give them an edge. The bolt carrier group also comes with an enhanced firing pin. Now, enhanced doesn't mean it's longer, but the shoulder is tapered, allowing it to further penetrate those hard Russian primers. On Black Rifle Arms website states, our select fire customers have stated carrier bounce has been eliminated due to the polymer-based buffer. We have run select fire and have not experienced carrier bounce since the introduction of the integrated polymer-based buffer. Patent buffer technology has been in use for 9 years with over 20,000 rounds without needing to replace the polymer buffer. However, if one damages the polymer buffer, it is easily replaced. When I received it, I immediately installed it and tried to charge the handle. It didn't budge. The polymer plug did not have an opening large enough for the SRS rod. I went back to Black Rifle Arms website and found this. Armaspec Stealth Recoil Spring is not compatible with our bolt carriers, and bolt carrier polymer buffer cannot be modified to work. I said, I'm going to try anyways. If it fails, I can order a new one for $10 and either use this for a different build or just use a regular spring and buffer. So I pulled out the plug, drilled out a big enough hole for the SRS rod to fit, and used a Dremel to flare out the opening. I reinstalled it and was then able to manually cycle it. Now, the polymer buffer does not fit like a plug anymore, so it is able to move a bit within the buffer tube. But because you don't need to run a buffer retention pin when running an SRS, the buffer does not need to be perfectly in line because there is no buffer retention pin to pass over. I do believe the polymer buffer makes a noticeable difference. I sure hope Black Rifle Arms tries to make a polymer buffer to be used with the SRS. I have a few simple ideas and would be happy to share them. I'm currently in the process of making a modified buffer in hopes I can replace this one to better complement the SRS. Now, the first few times I had this out shooting, I did experience some issues. The first was with the trigger reset. Sporadically, the trigger would just not reset. I switched drop-in triggers, but then I was consistently getting light primer strikes. One reason I went with the PDI is because Hiperfire stated it reduces light primer strikes. Actually, it states, no light primer strikes ever. This statement is probably aimed at PCC and brass cased ammo. I have yet to run any brass, but I would bet the farm it will have no issues with it. But with Russian steel cased ammo, I have come to accept that there are going to be some light primer strikes. Upon further inspection of the trigger, a small burr was noticed by Greg Linville, owner of Coat & Dagger Customs. It was simply filed down. I also broke a few lugs off my barrel. Bear Creek Arms happily replaced it. I also experienced failure to feed issues when using hollow points. The hollow points were getting hung up on the edge of the feed ramp. It was not an issue with the magazines, but with the headspace. This was also addressed by Coat & Dagger Customs. As of right now, I have not had any issues with the gun cycling. Light primer strikes still occur occasionally. I am looking into having a firing pin made or modify the current one so it can protrude a bit further into the primer. As for accuracy, I was able to reach out easily to 300 yards. I was more than happy with how accurate this little thumper was. I hope this video was entertaining and informative. If you have any suggestions on any compensators or how I might be able to fix these light primer strikes, please feel free to reach out. Until next time, keep sharp, stay safe, and never be afraid to think outside the box.